I guess I've never been in the seat. I've always been like there. I've just never even paying attention. It's always been there.
Queen for Daniel. And his seat draw, not a great one, right, Maria?
You're kind of always like right here.
No, you definitely don't want to have the chip leader directly to your left. Everybody here at this final table is very capable, obviously, so anybody with the chip lead to your left would have been just as dangerous.
If you think you don't like your seat and you don't want the chip leader on your left, you don't want two queens on your left sitting on king-queen, which is exactly where Daniel finds himself now, having limped in for 15K. It's 3x'd by Jake to 90. And this is one of those situations where the stack of Jake Schindler dictates that he play pots in this manner, and it doesn't have to be two queens that you're up against.
Definitely. I like this limp call by Daniel. He has the stack size that he maybe could have shoved pre, but of course, given the ICM considerations and how short Chidwick is, I like the limp call instead.
Two jacks and an ace with a couple of hearts out there. Negreanu checks his Broadway draw. And a downsized c-bet to 30,000 into 210. How do we feel about that?
Feel like we've got king high as Negreanu here and the queen of hearts in our hand, so definitely continue and wait for later streets to decide.
Double paired board now.
Double paired board, of course, pretty attractive for a hand like king high, especially against a wide open range, as you had mentioned.
Good.
For Schindler there, though, it's a debate of whether he could get called by worse. And Daniel, of course, can limp call with some ace X's, jack X's, of course.
And would certainly be taking this line, in particular if he had a weak kicker. Doesn't want to get himself eliminated here, especially with a couple of shorter stacks still at the table in Coleman and Chidwick. Second barrel of 90K gets called by Daniel. And if you're Jake, you begin to wonder, where is my opponent at? Some of these flush draws should be getting out of the way on the turn. The under pairs clearly should have been out of there if they were counterfeited. And so a check back on the end from Schindler. And Daniel disappointed that his king high isn't going to be a winner. And I'd say he's done pretty well for himself since then.
Yeah, I can't say it's worked out as well for a lot of other people that have taken that path.
And he's got the support of his parents as well, who he says are the biggest fans in his career. David Peters has the support of two red aces and the button, and unfortunately for Winter, two black sevens is going to leave him in a difficult spot out of the small.
Yeah, and again, sometimes a big difference between what is chip EV and what you would do in this situation with ICM considerations. Pretty unexploitable to see some people shove a hand like sevens here from the small blind against
all in
the button raise.
Uh-oh.
Does not deter
wow.
Peters whatsoever.
And three.
Yes, Stevie and I are even now.
Make it 4 shorter stacks than Sean Winter out there. And yet, he decided he was going to get it in. Obviously has Peters covered. His tournament life not at stake in this particular pot, but a big chunk.
Decision back?
Definitely the silver lining here is that he will still be in the tournament.
How much?
With less chips, though, on the ace-jack-9 board. As the very uphill climb becomes even higher with no backdoor straight out on the turn.
I can't.
Queen 7 suited wants to gamble.
Ooh, uh-oh.
Oh, and a snap call. King Queen suited for
You thought I was serious?
Jake Schindler.
All right, moving on.
You're chopping. All right.
I wouldn't move in with
Flip over it. Flip over your cards.
I have spades.
Yeah, turn it over.
Okay.
Daniel would
What?
like to request
I
a
was
do-over,
joking.
please.
You really thought I was serious, all in.
I
with
did,
Queen
yeah.
7 suited. Come on.
I think it's because you didn't say it like
ICM
all
wizard.
in. Then you could take it back.
7.
you
There's
know?
lots of 7s left, and I think I'm
Give
due
him
for
a 7.
I'm very due for one of
Two
these.
spades in the muck.
Very due to tweet out one of these things where I hit a 7.
The 7 didn't come versus Peter.
6, 8.
So Negreanu's tournament life now hangs in the balance with this Queen 7 suited against King Queen.
3 of hearts.
Spade.
3 of hearts is
4-1
7, 8.
dog post flop here, fishing for a 7.
Ooh,
Instead, he picks up a
spade.
spade
Hello.
draw, and that gives him some
Spade
added
will do.
equity.
Spade or a 7. I'll take either one. I don't care.
12
I don't
outs.
know. We need a queen. We need a 7 or a spade. Otherwise, I'll join you in a minute.
Spades last and you said queen.
I did say queen. I meant 7 or a spade. And it's not there. All right.
Good game, Dan.
Good luck, guys.
Instead, it is the 8 of clubs, Maria and Negreanu, despite 3 shorter stacks at the table
here.
and some pretty significant pay
dead
jumps
button, right?
hanging out there.
Here, you're working.
Took his chance, blind versus blind, against the chip leader, and becomes the first casualty of event
I didn't mean
number
it. I
5,
didn't mean it.
6th place finish, good for
Yeah, that came out of
$45,000.
I'm sure you know it. Oh boy.
You got a big smile out of
I'm so sick.
both D. Pete's and Jake there, who know that Sean knows how absurd that
You know
looked.
it? I don't think anyone knows.
All in.
Oh no, Stephen Chidwick wakes up
I
with
guess
2
I'm not
black
that
jacks.
fucking sick.
Yeah,
Jesus.
very unfortunate cooler, especially
bad
with
am
Winter
I?
sitting on 70,000, but Jack's
Yeah.
obviously too good to fold.
Coleman opened to
really this bad?
130.
You just get kings?
Luckily, Chidwick does have Coleman covered and 2 jacks in the deck, so
I didn't have a heart.
look on the bright
Oh,
side.
that's good for you.
That is extremely optimistic, Maria. Obviously, Chidwick would rather be sitting on these kings. Oh,
Oh.
my goodness. Both the
You
king
got
and
nines
a
and
jack on
diamonds?
the board. Neither player, obviously, with the diamond.
Really? I think it's 9-7.
9, 10 of diamonds.
Having
All right, put a
flop
queen out
sets.
there then. Queen and then a jack.
The jack in the window, though, probably got everybody.
Oh my God, this tournament
Well,
was supposed to be.
maybe
fucking-
just Stevie
you're supposed to win.
Supposed to do what you do, I think.
Here comes the turn, a 10. And now there's some chop outs for
you
these
need
set of
to chop out
jacks.
this ante,
1 out
that's
to a
so
win. 450K pot. And you heard Winter say, maybe I'm not so sick, given that if Stevie were to manage to bust Coleman,
195.
that limp fold would have been worth an extra 27K in prize money and the continued opportunity to pursue more. Instead, the Kings hold as expected.
Luckily, the ante's coming from him, but he doesn't have the ability to cover both bets, obviously.
And if you're scratching your temple wondering what we're talking about as we see the golf ball delivered to D. Pete's, were Winter only to have enough for the ante, he would not be
Sean's offering
entitled
coaching if you're interested.
to anything
Dude.
more than just the antes at certain properties.
9, 8, 6 is what we want.
Whereas if it's classified as the big blind, then everybody who limped in, he would be getting that amount
6.
credited toward him. And here he is with a 7-5 up against a 9 deuce. It's 9s and deuces
Give him a
for
deuce.
David Peters. Just the 7s for Sean Winter. No help on the turn leaves him fishing for a 7 and a 7 only to stay alive. 2 outs once. He's packing it up.
Look, guys.
Here it comes.
No, I
All
mean,
but certain the river
I don't
won't
have
help
any
him.
outs.
And
What do you mean you don't have any outs?
he was right.
Game show.
David Peters eliminates Sean Winter in 5th place.
Good game.
See it.
Sean will collect $72,000.
In almost any context.
Really? No?
Take that.
Snug is an unfair way to describe D. Pete's?
No, I think it's calculated, maybe.
We have Schindler making it $335,000.
Me too.
Asking for all of Chidwick's chips with a queen jack. Flops himself a Broadway drawn 2 overs as Chidwick snap called with the 2 7s. A meaningful 710,000 chip pot hanging in the balance. And Stevie Needs to fade 10 outs twice here. Board pairs on the turn, and now there are some counterfeit issues that present themselves. King, queen, jack, or 10 would spell the end of the road for Chidwick. What does the river have in store?
Ooh.
It is the 10. Schindler makes Broadway and dispatches Stephen Chidwick, and boy, I think he'll be very pleased with that outcome, as Stevie is one of those sticky, pesky, difficult guys to navigate in any situation, and Schindler's feeling like the bet MGM of this final table. And a challenger to the crown as Coleman wakes up with an ace, draws his line in the sand, and will be up against 9-6. It doesn't feel appropriate, but Schindler obviously can more than afford to take a swing with the worst of it. And you see, not even a 3-2 favorite, just Coleman. On the queen 9-5 board, Schindler with the better flush draw and the pair of nines jumps way out in front. And that ain't good is an accurate way to describe this, and it is over is an even better one. After the turn, the king of diamonds ices it.
That was awkward.
And that,
oh, post-COVID, never know what to do.
yeah.
You made a good fold. All in?
All in?
And ready to go with it.
Schindler getting
930.
a count before he decides what he's going to do. Queen jack suited, obviously a nice hand considering he limped as well. Little underrepresented in some situations.
All right.
Wow, and he says, all right, ready to go with it. Kind of a cavalier move there. What is the bottom end of D. Pete's range there? Is there a lot of dustiness that he's going to come with the all-in?
I mean, considering Schindler did limp, he has quite a few limp folds, so kind of an unexploitable shove by D. Peters, even without having a very snug range there, Ali.
Well, he's up against 2 overcards for all the marbles here. In front as of right now, but the equities were running neck and neck, and on the queen high board, it is disaster for David Peters, who has 2 outs twice. No clubs, no backdoor straight draws, a pure draw to a set. Not there on the turn. Close. Will he hit a 6 on the river to continue this match? Or is it Schindler's time to shine? It is the latter, as the ace of hearts brings event number 5 to a close. A professional handshake and an easy day at the office for Jake Schindler, dare I say, who went wire to wire with the chip lead to earn himself the title and $324,000, while D. Pete's is left with the silver medal and $216,000.